At my baby shower, my parents gave me nothing but criticism about how I was raising my kids, and if you've ever been handed a gift bag that feels suspiciously light, you already know step 1 of this story. I'm Nate, husband, designated snackrefiller, man who Googles best way to get stains out of anuses at 2 a.m. I'm also the guy who has learned to keep one hand on the diaper bag and the other on my wife's comm. My wife is Mara, and she's going to jump in here too because this isn't a single voice kind of day. We have 2 kids under 4 and a third on the way, which means our living room looks like a toy store had a gentle earthquake and no one came to file a report. We've been doing fine. Messy, loud, stop everything to stare at the baby's cheeks fine. And then the shower happened. The venue was my sister's backyard, which is one of those backyards that makes you think she won some contest called Who Kept a Plant Alive Longest. The lights were strung like quiet constellations, the tables were covered with butcher paper for the kids to draw on, and the theme, because showers now need themes like movies need sequels, was sunbeams and sprinkles. Translation: there were donuts, a bubble machine, and a centerpiece that looked like a cloud tried improved. People we love brought diapers and wipes and tiny outfits that made the future feel almost bearable. We were happy. Tired happy, but happy. My parents arrived late, the way they arrived to everything that isn't a doctor's appointment. Mom hugged me like it was a PR move. Dad did that pat on the back that says I have feelings but they're stuck behind my ribcage. They brought a bag. Small. Gold tissue paper, like an apology was trying to dress up. I took the bag, I'm polite. I set it on the gift table. We saved it for last because we've learned to pace ourselves with my parents, the way you pace yourself with hot sauce. Okay, my turn, Mara. I wore a dress that made me look like a lemon decided to be a person, and I put my hair in a clip that could double as a weapon if needed. Our toddler June had a meltdown exactly 8 minutes in because I refused to let her put 3 strawberries in her pocket for later. Our older one, Theo, found the bubble machine and became a scientist. We had playlists and popsicles and a giant sheet cake that said, "Welcome Little Comet," because naming a baby without naming the baby is a game I invented to keep people out of our business. For most of the afternoon I felt held. People refilled my water. Aunts I never see sat and asked real questions. Nate's sister gave me a foot rub in a corner like we were teenagers and she was painting my nails before a dance. Even my mother seemed to be keeping it civil, which is like saying a raccoon graciously declined the garbage. Then came the gift. We waited until the kids lost interest in tissue paper and the bubble machine ran low on optimism. People circled up with paper plates sagging under cake. I pulled the gold tissue back and found an envelope. No weight to it. Inside, a card with a baby in a bonnet, the kind that suggests the 1800s were better at humility. Handwritten note from Mom: what you need is not more stuff, it's guidance. Enclosed is an itemized list of suggestions you should implement immediately to be a more effective mother. Under that, in Dad's handwriting, seconded. There was a stapled packet. 12 pages. Numbered. With bullet points. And my full name at the top like I'd enrolled in a class I was about to fail. I took the packet because that's the kind of idiot I am. I still believe if you read the instructions you can fix the machine. The first line, "No more screen time at meals, it will rot their brains." This from the woman who plopped me in front of a soap opera for my entire 2nd year because the nice lady in the city cried so well. Next, bedtime is too late, children need a strict schedule. Our kids go to bed at 7:30. Sometimes 8. If that's a crime, arrest every child in America. Stop cuddling them when they fall, you're raising them to be weak. Take away the pacifier now, only lazy parents use them. Discipline in public, don't wait to get home or you lose authority. No more of this gentle parenting, kids need consequences they can feel. Stop talking to them like friends. Don't force them to share, teach them to share. I swear I'm not making that one up. It went on and on like my parents had crowdsourced our failings from a Facebook group called We Did It Harder So You Should Too. I read to page 3. Nate, who has a sixth sense for my hinge breaking, touched my arm. He skimmed a paragraph about our ridiculous no-spanking policy, and I could feel his jaw gathering a storm. He does this thing when he's angry where his mouth goes quiet because his brain is arranging furniture, where to put rage so it doesn't knock anything valuable over. Mom, I said, and I surprised myself by how even I sounded. What is this? It's love, she said, prim. Someone has to say it. Say what? Nate asked, voice soft. That you're doing this wrong, Dad added, taking off his cap like sincerity was going to need extra headroom. You're letting them run the house. They need structure. They need to know who's boss. Do you want to know what Theo said to me this morning? I asked, and I didn't wait for the answer. He said, Mama, you take care of me when I cry and I take care of you when you cry. That's what runs our house, care. That's the boss. Mom sniffed. Honest to God, sniffed. Children should not have to think about their parents' feelings. It's backwards. They shouldn't have to, I said. But they get to. We get to notice each other. The thing about an audience is it changes the temperature. By the time we reached bullet point 7, stop breastfeeding in public, it makes people uncomfortable, the air got tall. Nate's sister set down her plate. Jamal, best friend turned honorary uncle, put his hand on my shoulder like a seatbelt. My mother saw the bodies gathering and doubled down. It's our job to give you wisdom, she said. We didn't come here to be dazzled by cute decorations and sugar. We came to help. That's the problem with your generation. You don't know how to take correction. I could feel my pulse in my ears. June, sensing a shift, climbed into my lap, sticky and decisive. Theo stood next to Nate with a fistful of grass and a look like science just got mean. I'll take it from here, Nate again. I have practiced saying hard things nicely. I talk to customer service representatives like we're the two last good men on earth. I end emails with appreciate you even when I do not. But the packet and the way my wife's mouth was set and the fact that our kids were watching, they cut the brake line on my courtesy. I'm going to say something, I told my parents. And it might not be tidy, but it will be true. We don't need your list. We need your hands. If you want to help, stack chairs. Wipe faces. Take a kid for a walk. If you want to love us, love what we're trying to build. Your notes assume you're the experts on our life. You're not. We are. We live it. We went 3 nights without sleep last month because June had croup and we took turns sitting in the bathroom with the shower on hot, counting her breaths. We know what we're doing. We want our kids to be kind. We want them to be brave. We want them to know how to say sorry without explaining it. We want them to know their bodies are theirs. You want to help? Back us up. Don't undercut us in our own house. Dad looked like I'd slapped him with the truth. Mom's mouth became a line that could cut fabric. No one speaks to me like that, she said. Then no one has been honest with you in a long time, Nate said, and his voice had that pastor's cadence he gets when he's preaching to himself so he doesn't back down. We're not doing this today. Not at a baby shower. Not ever again. If you want to offer advice, ask permission first. If you want to criticize, write it in your diary and see if it still feels like love in the morning. People were trying not to stare, but humans are magnets for fires. My Aunt Wanda made a low like a gospel choir had just agreed. Nate's sister stepped closer. Mom, Dad, she said, I'm not stepping into this as the golden child but as your daughter. I've watched you do this to Mara for years. You confuse control with care. They're not the same. Mom blinked like the word daughter from her other kid toward her had shorted the room. You're ganging up, she said. This is disrespectful. It's resistance, I said, and it felt good and terrifying coming out of my mouth. You brought a stapled list of insults to my baby shower. That's disrespectful. Fine, Mom said, standing as if the chair had betrayed her. We will leave. Please do, Nate said. Take your list with you. Dad tried to salvage it with a half apology that was really just a sigh. We mean well, he offered. Meaning well, Jamal murmured, isn't legal tender. They left. Not dramatically, no broken dishes, no doors slamming. Slow, like they'd remembered an errand they'd rather be doing. The yard held its breath. The bubble machine sputtered a last bit of optimism and died. Okay, Nate said to the room, clapping his hands once like we were about to start PE new game. Write one sentence of actual advice you wish someone had given you and put it in the diaper box. If your advice is passive-aggressive, I keep your cake. Laughter broke the spell. Aunt Wanda wrote, nap when the guilt lets you. Jamal wrote, buy the bigger trash can. Nate's sister wrote, if they ask you to be a village, not a census taker. Even my quiet neighbor who shows up with muffins and silence wrote, say yes to help from people who don't make it about themselves. We read them out loud. We took pictures. We hugged each other like the day needed proof. When everyone left and the backyard was a confetti of grass and popsicle sticks, I sat in a lawn chair with the packet on my lap. There's a mean part of me that wanted to burn it, but we're renting and I like our security deposit. So I did something pettier. I got a pen. I annotated. Next to stop breastfeeding in public, I wrote, no. Next to spank sparingly but effectively, I wrote, no. Next to gentle parenting is just permissive parenting with lipstick, I wrote, look up research, call me when you own a book. Next to stop talking to children like friends, I wrote, we talk to them like people. The kids fell asleep in the car on the way home, dream sweaty, heavy, those beautiful anchors that turn your arm numb. We carried them in and placed them in beds like we were putting rare birds back in nests. Nate took a long shower. I sat on the floor outside the bathroom because the sound of the water calms me and the baby in my body is a drummer and my ribs are the drum. I felt tired in that this is my life, I did it on purpose way. And then I felt a small panic nibble. What if I had just burned our bridge? My mother is not a woman who recovers quickly from insult. I know this because I grew up with a mother who could hold one grudge long enough to raise it through college. Nate came out in a towel, hair like a field in the wind, and sat next to me. You okay? I'm scared, I admitted. We drew the line. What if they never cross onto our side of it again? Then we raise our kids with the people who do, he said. We've been doing it already. Jamal. Your cousin Tessa. My sister. The neighbor with the muffins. The lady at the library who whispers stories like secrets. The babysitter who taught Theo to say no thank you to adults who try to tickle him. We have a village. It can be smaller than the myth and still work. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to package that sentence and sell it in the section of Target where they keep hope. The next morning my phone buzzed before the sun remembered its job. A text from my mother, brief enough to think you're safe. We were only trying to help. You are ungrateful. Then another longer, like she'd realized a novel is just a short story that got cocky. She wrote about sacrifice and respect and the way children these days think they invented boundaries. She wrote about the way I speak out of turn and how men ought to lead and how I have allowed myself to be influenced by the wrong people. Nate read it over my shoulder and did that thing where he inhales like he's lifting something heavy and wants to lift it correctly. I typed and deleted 15 drafts. I sent none. I put my phone on the mantel and went to make pancakes with Theo. He stirred and spilled and said oops like an incantation. June poured too many sprinkles and called it confetti breakfast. Nate put on music. We made something ordinary from scratch, which is either a definition of parenting or a recipe card for survival. At nap time there was a knock. I checked the peephole and saw, because of course, the quilted shoulder of my mother's jacket. My hand hovered over the lock. Nate touched the small of my back like he was anchoring me to the floor and not to obligation. Your call, he said. I opened the door because closing it doesn't always feel like freedom. Mom stepped in like she owned the season. Her eyes were red, but not from softness. I don't like being talked to that way, she began, because there are scripts some people laminate. I don't like being parented that way, I replied. She looked past me at the house, at the basket of shoes we don't step over, at the plants that are stubborn and thriving, at the art on the fridge made by hands that still smell like sleep. You'll regret this, she said, and it sounded like something she'd written on a poster in her head. I regret letting you in on the first try, I said, and my voice shook and I let it because firmness without tremble is just stubbornness in heels. But you're here. So if you'd like to listen, I'll talk. If you'd like to talk, I'll listen. If you'd like to scold me in my own home, you can leave. Those are the 3 doors. Pick one. She blinked. She looked at Nate, the man you'd think she'd want to see lead, but who she secretly resents because he refuses to boss me. He nodded, once, like a man giving someone permission to be decent to his wife. She looked back at me. I don't understand you, she said, testing the weight of honesty like a dumbbell. I don't need you to, I said. I need you to respect me. She Saturday. The chair squeaked like it was relieved. When you were born, she said slowly, I was 23. Your father and I were broke and proud. We did the best we could. Everyone had an opinion. People told me I was doing it wrong. I was scared all the time. I think, she paused, swallowed something sharp, I think telling you what to do makes me feel less scared. Like if I get you to do it my way, I can prove to someone, maybe to myself, that I wasn't wrong. I sat too because we were finally in the room where something could happen. I believe you, I said. And we're not you. And that's not a betrayal. That's just time. I don't like your gentle parenting, she sniffed, the lost dog at a fence. You don't have to like it, I said. You have to not sabotage it. You cannot override us in front of our kids. You cannot use your love to bulldoze our rules. You cannot write lists of our sins and wrap them in gold tissue paper. If you want to be in our lives, you learn our house. If you want to be right, you can be right in your own living room. We sat there and let silence breathe. Nate brought tea and put it down like a treaty. Mom took a sip like the cup had asked for it. You're brave, she said finally, and it landed like an accident and a blessing. And you talk too much, she added, because growth is incremental. But you're brave. Thanks, I said. You can keep coming over. If you want. We'll tell you how it works here. You'll hate some of it. You can go home when you hate it too much. And we'll still see you next Saturday. But no more lists. Unless they're grocery lists. You need grapes, she said, scanning the counter like her hands wanted a job. We do, I said. And also, please, no spanking, no shaming, no I'm the grandma so I can do what I want, and no comments about their bodies. She winced. I talk about their cheeks. Cheeks are allowed, I said. They're public domain. She laughed, once a little. Okay, she said. I will try. But if they become insolent. They will, Nate said from the kitchen. It'll be developmental. We'll handle it. She took another sip. Do you need anything else? She asked, and the question was finally shaped like it could hold an answer. Yes, I said. Next time we host anything, birthday, shower, graduation, you arrive early. You help set up. You make your famous potato salad. You assign yourself to the kids' table and let them spill on you. You go home smelling like sugar and grass. That's how you help. She stood. She nodded. She kissed my cheek quickly, the way you pat a dog you're learning not to be afraid of. She left the packet on the table. I slid it into a drawer with takeout menus and a rubber band ball. Nate pressed his forehead to mine. Door number 3, he whispered. We picked it. That night, after the kids fell asleep like they'd been hired to do it, I took the annotated packet out and gave it to Nate. He read my notes and laughed in the worn-out way that's half joy, half exhaustion. He grabbed a marker and added his own line, right at the top above my full name and the list and the tea stains that will probably tell their own story one day. House rules, he wrote. 1. Love is loud. 2. Boundaries are doors, not walls. 3. Advice is by invitation. 4. Cheeks are public domain. We taped it to the inside of the pantry door, next to the kid height sticker chart that says you tried, because we're not raising robots, we're raising people who deserve credit for effort. Some mornings I open that door and want to cry because the list makes me feel safe. Some mornings I forget it's there because the baby is karate dancing on my bladder and Thea wants to know why thunder is loud and June is insisting that her sock is too left. A week later at the farmer's market, my mother showed up with grapes. She didn't tell June to put a sweater on. She didn't tell Theo to stop touching tomatoes. She did tell the lady selling honey that her daughter is stubborn in the right direction, and I pretended not to hear her voice shake. She came over that afternoon and put potato salad in our fridge like a peace lily. She sat on the floor and let kids put stickers on her face. She didn't bring a list. She did bring her hands. We're going to mess up. We're going to say sorry more than once. We're going to teach our kids that love can be loud and clean and also loud and messy, and that both are real and useful and worth learning. If there's any gift in this, it's that we unwrapped a hard thing together and kept it from ruining the party. The cloud centerpiece bowed without breaking. The bubble machine revived for one last encore and spit out 1,000 little circles that rose and popped in the sun like a promise you don't have to staple to believe. And when our son asked, "Mama, why did Grandma look mad?" I said, "Because sometimes grown-ups have big feelings and small tools. We're helping her get better tools." He nodded, very serious. "We can share," he said. "But only when it's safe." And that's the whole list right there in crayon.